G'day, I'm Dave. Welcome back. Thanks for joining me. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about my solution, my AI solution I've been working on, just to cover the basis of what it actually does, so you can have an understanding of what I've designed. Anyway, let's start at the very, very beginning. Okay, so obviously when AI first came out, large language models enabled us to actually type something in and get a reasonable response. AI, since that advent of about 3 years ago, has grown exponentially, and particularly the last 2 years, and then particularly the last year, and then particularly the last 6 months, and particularly the last 3 months. The rate of acceleration and scaling is quite mind-blowing. Most people that are watching this must have some interest in AI, so I'm assuming you've already had a play with a large language model, be it Perplexity or ChatGPT, which is the most common one. Google, unbelievably good. Basically, that's the first point that most people come into contact with AI. That's a good thing. And it's brought conversation to the fore, because conversation is really, really important, because the AI is trained on conversation and humans are based on conversation. So I sat and thought for a long, long time during my journey, and even last year I created a couple of articles on what was currently happening in the world of AI, and you could just see the trend line heading towards conversation and the importance of conversation. So I decided to pursue the path of making conversation on many levels practical for your business. So I have come up with a solution that can branch off into different directions. So I'll try and explain it. I've got some explainer videos with screen images of how all the software works and so forth, but basically this is just an explainer. So if you've stuck with me this long, well done, and I will try and run through the key points of what my stuff does. So first of all, we're all used to a chatbot. So you go to a website and you can click on the little button down the bottom and ask it questions. Now, those chatbots may have been manned by humans. A lot of the time they were. A lot of the time they were just preset questions and answers, or frequently asked questions, or just a guide. But the big difference was you needed to write every question and every answer verbatim. It didn't have the intelligence to be able to think and answer in such a way that the LLMs do now. So if we take that as our base point, the first shift is intelligence. So all you're doing with AI is buying intelligence. You're buying a brain. You're buying a well-trained brain to be able to answer questions. So I think most people can cope with that. So chatbots in any form are great. What I discovered was, though, that people were still hesitant in asking questions. People still just want to have a conversation with people. That will probably never change. But the reality of it is, at the end of the day, you want an answer to your question. And your question will be asked in conversation. Whether that question is, I want to buy a pair of blue boots because I want to go boot scooting or disco dancing on the weekend, or I need to find out some information about your product before I decide whether I'm going to buy your product or service. So these questions will remain forever and ever and ever, and it's all based in conversation. So why not take it to the next level? And so what I did with the next level is I thought, okay, let's take a chatbot and let's say that we can train our chatbot, which is what you can do now. And there's out of the box software that you can do that. No code, very easy. You can set up a chatbot. That's great. And I encourage everyone to do it, because this is the way that we'll be migrating across. But a lot has happened since those days. Yeah, so chatbots are great because, well, number one, they're multilingual. So straight away, you can actually ask in any language and the AI can answer you in any language. And the accuracy of that language over the last 12 months is astonishingly good. So even at that basic level, communication and conversation is the basis. The LLMs are trained on conversation. They will output conversation. They are looking for conversation, right? Conversation is what it's all about. So we've got the concept of a chatbot, right? But let's just take it far further, right? So the next thing is, what's the chatbot going to converse about? What is the conversation about? If you ask a chatbot about your business, it doesn't know about your business. It might do a web search and come back with whatever generic information is available on the web, but it's not trained on your business. And this is the great breakthrough. So what I've done is, when I've designed my solution, I've designed it very simply, where you literally can just write down or talk and take the transcript, upload it to the AI assistant very simply, and that becomes your knowledge base. The AI will look at your knowledge And it is amazing at how it can interpret that knowledge and answer in a conversational form. So that alone is a huge breakthrough. Every business can utilize that. Some more than others, I agree. But basically the ability to be able to chat with your business 24/7 in any language is a good basis to start from. So let's now go, okay, well, that's all great, well and good, but how do we run it from a practical point of view? So from a practical point of view, the most logical thing next is you want to see what people are saying about your business. So when people go to your website or your Facebook page or whatever the case may be, they might leave comments, they might even call you on the phone, they might send you an email, they might use your contact form. But basically, if they want to take it further, they want information. So instead of an AI chatbot popping up down the bottom corner of your web page, why not make that AI assistant all about your business, answering questions, showing images, talking about your business, answering the contact form details. So that got me thinking, well, we don't really need websites. And this is way back a year ago, before even, we were talking about agents going to websites, which is really where the future is, and that's what this is targeted at. But basically you've got a website that is a repository of your information for your business. People need to go to there and they need to go click, 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 find the information. They've found the site that they know the information's there, but they've still got to navigate their way through that site. What will happen very quickly is people will just not do that. They will just, if they see there's an AI assistant, they've got a question they want to know, they'll just ask the question. So you can control that conversation. You can engage that person in conversation. That is the other massive breakthrough. Website's one-way communication. This is two-way communication. The person, the end user that wants to know about your business is talking to your AI assistant and asking about your business. And the AI assistant is trained on your knowledge that you put up to answer those questions. And now, as of about a month ago or 6 weeks ago, the AI can also fill that conversation in by doing live web searches to supplement the conversation. So, for example, if you want to know the latest weather, you can ask your AI assistant the latest weather. It will come back with that information as well as being trained on your knowledge. So this next incrementation is great. So imagine this. You've then got your normal website, which will change because people won't be going to websites. Agents will, but we'll get into that later. You've got your website. Someone goes to your website and they basically can ask the AI assistant in voice and or in text, in any language, anything about your business, and it will then start a conversation about your business. You then, of course, want to know what that conversation's about. So the obvious one next is to get an email of a transcript of the conversation. So my solution does that. It basically initially uses the AI intelligence to answer the question. Then we actually then send an email to the business owner so they can know straight away that someone's asking questions. Now, the next thing is you go to a website and you want to find out information. What do you look at? Well, you ask questions maybe about us and what we do, about the product, about pricing. Pricing, okay. A lot of businesses have complicated pricing. It's simple as that. The problem is, do you put the price on the website that people can go, oh, that's $2,000, that's too expensive? Or do you explain why the pricing is that and your different pricing structures? A website can't do that. It can just present the information. People may indeed read down and try and discover what your pricing is. But if they can just say, hey, tell us about your pricing, and it comes back in a conversation, and that conversation then leads to more questions, and you can narrow down and find out exactly why you charge what you charge. So for the first time, that's been able to be done. Images and videos, yeah, you can click and go through images and videos, but why try and find an image of a particular product when you can just ask to be shown that? The AI assistant, with the training on your images and your knowledge, bang, comes back with that answer. Number 2 of a website. Number 3, contact form. Okay, you fill in a contact form. My name, Bill Smith. My email address, blah, 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 at blah, 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 right? But it doesn't give you the flexibility to say, hey, my name's Dave or my name's Bill, and look, I work night shifts, so please don't ring me, during business hours. Can you ring me after 7? If not, can you send an email to this location and give the email address? Now, basically, that then creates an email as a contact form, but it's a fluid contact form. It's not just a strict adherence to, boxes and fields. So this migration is totally natural. So websites of the future, for multiple reasons, will no longer just be static websites that people have to go and click the information. They can just ask a conversation, what's happening. So The next step obviously then is, all right, so you've got this conversation happening and you've got a copy of the conversation. But that's pretty important because the conversation's based on your business. So why not tell the world about your business? So what I did next in my solution, and again, this is using AI intelligence. So the first AI intelligence goes, finds the knowledge base, constructs a conversation about your business to answer the question. It then generates a verbatim email to the business owner. Great, that's the first loop. The second loop is, okay, well, let's say we could publish those conversations, because really, if you've got a good business and people are talking about your business, you want the world to know. So why limit it just to that one conversation? So what my solution does is it then goes, okay, well, we'll take this conversation and we'll publish it to the website of the company. But I hear you cry. What happens if someone says something bad or rude or disrespectful or illegal? How do I get around that? Well, guess what? The AI is a moderator. We train the AI assistant to put guardrails in place. So it will not come back with those answers. It won't change the answer. It might moderate it slightly just to reword it, to clean it up and remove any offensive material, or in some cases just completely not publish it at all because it's decided that, no, this is inappropriate content. But most of the content will be good content. Someone asks about your business, there's an answer, answered by AI, about your knowledge base, in your style, about your business. That then gets published. The page itself that I've created is then fully SEO'd, so it will rank now, but that isn't as important as the future and seeding the future, which is what the whole project is really aiming at doing with conversation. So the next step is we use the second intelligence for the AI. The agent goes, takes the question and answer, and then publishes it to a web page. That web page then goes on the internet and is search engine optimized for the current state of search engines, but more importantly for the future. And why do I say more importantly for the future? Well, more importantly for the future because let's say, for example, right now you wanted to find out something. People would generally go to Google or to Bing and they'd type in a question. That has changed massively. People no longer just type haircut, Sydney. Right? They will type in, I want to get a haircut on Tuesday. I'm unavailable on Wednesdays and I like my hair done this way. What hairdresser do you think will be open at particular hour? I mean, they ask conversational questions. Google have noticed this. So because people are now using large language models to ask questions, they've all become search engines. So no longer Google rule the roost. But the interesting part is what does an AI do when you ask it for information? AI is very, very good at achieving missions or achieving tasks. So if you ask a question about a particular product, let's say a kayak, we'll just pluck that one out of the air, right? If you want to know about kayaks and models of kayaks and how do I use kayaks and what's a good fishing kayak and where can I take the kayak, and you ask your AI assistant or you go to an LLM like OpenAI or Perplexity and you ask that question, it does not use the same algorithm that Google does because it's not based on money. Google's business model has basically been based on advertising and giving search results. That's how they make their money. But that's changing because people want the truth. People want the information. The best anecdote I can give is or metaphor, is where you walk into a room of 100 people. 10 people at the back are screaming at their lungs. You want to ask a question about a product, kayaks, whatever. 10 people are screaming about kayaks. They're the paid ads. Doesn't matter whether their business is good or not. They're number one because they're paying the bucks, right? Number two, you've got 20 people that are on social media or TikTok, all also paying to be there. And that information is coming to the AI assistant to analyze and work out whether it's accurate. But the AI assistant, unlike you and me, doesn't just jump to the first one that Google pays. It analyzes. It's been sent a mission to find out about kayaks. So it will listen to the conversation of what's out there on the internet. It will formulate. It doesn't need the algorithm. The funding model for LLMs is not advertising. The funding model is APIs and using the brain in development software, right? So their business model is completely different. The more truthful the answer, the better it is for the LLM and the better it is for the company that run that LLM. So the natural progression is we're moving away from just paid ads to you need truth in conversation. Truth is the new gold, right? Truth conveys itself through conversation. Truth about your business, conversation about your business. So why not take the leap and start thinking seriously about what your business actually does? Because the days of just chucking money at Google or Facebook to get new work, they're gone. Okay, video is a huge way that you need to embrace in your business. It's multimodal. The AIs are multimodal. So you need to be able to address all of those issues. I'll leave that here for this one, and then I'll go on to the next one, the next major step that we implemented. Again, I've got some explainer videos with screen captures down. There's lots of videos there you can look at. These are more just discussion points, sort of getting to know my point of view and why I created this solution and why I believe this solution can be integrated into small and medium businesses with great success. So I'll leave it there for now, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for your time.